So Agile at its base is basically people who have said, we shouldn't wait until the product is complete to put it out, to make it, to ensure that the code has been tested, to ensure that it works, to debug, to do all of those stuff. The way it used to happen before is they would finish the full product and then they would hold everything for weeks of testing. So they finish it. Let's think of WhatsApp, let's say. They wouldn't start by creating just one thing and then testing it and making sure that it works. They would create the full WhatsApp experience. After they finished creating it, they would bring in the testing team. The testing team would then test it rigorously to make sure if there are any bugs and all of that. Odds are there are bugs. So then they do it again and again and again until they deploy it. What they said was, hey, I can work on a feature. All I need to do is make that feature work. And I can do that in 2 weeks. So now instead of waiting a full year before I can test and ensure that my feature works, until I finish the whole thing and test that it works, I'm just going to do this feature, I'm going to deploy it, I'm going to test it, and then I'm going to move on to the next feature. So at the beginning of every sprint, and the sprint is just a fancy way of saying it's a 2-week period where we're going to do stuff, right? So 2, 3, 4 weeks, it depends on the team. But at the beginning of every sprint, they all sit together and they say, okay, what are we going to build this sprint? I'll give you an example from one of the projects that I was working on. So part of the sprint, the very first sprint that we did, we agreed that we would create the sign up button. All it needed to do was be clickable. Once you click it, it needed to give you the ability to then scan your ID. That's all. Okay? And that took 2 weeks to build. It didn't need more than that. They needed to figure some stuff out, so they did a bit of research, and then, great, 2 weeks later, we didn't have a fancy app, but what we did have was a button that you could click that would allow you to scan your card. Okay? And then you take that, and you repeat it, and you repeat it until you get the final product. But what's great about it is that you do get to a point where you deploy, and you can deploy early, and again, to drive over some of the talks that happened earlier, you can fail much sooner, right? So instead of waiting 2 years to fail, you can now fail in 2 weeks. It's exciting, people love it. But the whole point is, so you commit to something that you're going to build. Once you commit to it, you put it in your backlog. Once it's in your backlog, this is stuff that you have promised each other that you're going to finish within the 2 weeks. You're accountable to this, okay? And then you develop. And at the end of it, you deploy. And Agile has a lot of ceremonies. There we go. So Agile has a lot of ceremonies. And it's a lot of stuff that includes, for example, doing retrospectives. So the best part about it, and what I really like about Agile, is that you not only focus on the work itself, you focus on whether it's working for you or not. So a lot of times you stop right before the end of those 2 weeks and you do a retrospective and you say, is this working? Are we working well together? What do we like? What are we going to continue to do? What are we going to stop to do? And what are we going to start doing? I always try and say, let's stop ordering that pizza. No one ever agrees, but still, I'm on a mission. And then you deploy and you test, and this is when you bring in your stakeholders. And this is when everybody comes in and sees this live product and they can react to it, they can interact with it. Anything that people raise as problems, bugs, whatever it is, goes into the next backlog or the one after that. So you're continuously planning, developing, deploying. Are you good to move on? Amazing. So, it all sounds great. And the reason I still refer to waterfall as the good old days is because of this. In the waterfall days, as a designer, you got involved over there and it was easy, right? So you go in and you do your thing, you create your design, you get some feedback, you put it in your contract, I will do 3 iterations, I might do 4 if you pay me, right? And stuff like that is great. And then somehow, we ended up moving to this. And repeat, right? So at this point, I mean, this is basically my fancy way of saying you're embedded in that team. That team's success is your success. So whether you like it or not, you're going to have to figure out a way to speak business, to speak product, to speak development and code and all of that. You're going to need to figure out a way to get everybody involved and on board. So this is what what a designer's life looks like post-agile. I didn't have enough of those like you, like icons, so they repeat a bit, but we're gender equal almost. So the point is, you as a designer are a facilitator at this point. You're not someone who sits somewhere in the whole Mad Men type of megalomaniac approach where you're like, oh, let me go design. I need to go and sit in my room, drink my whiskey. Though I still think that's a good idea. But, you know, it's not how it works anymore. Like, you're there every day committed to talk to these people, whether you want to or not. You're going to have to be there talking to them and figuring stuff out together. And we don't all speak the same language. But this is what you're trying to do. This is the design sprint process. So it's very similar. You'll see it a bit, but this is based on the whole four diamond approach, double diamond approach, whatever it is, different design approaches. They're all the same, just different steps. But the point is, you're there going like, okay, I get this. I can do a feature. And for that feature, all I need to do is define it, validate it. So I go talk to some users, great. I wireframe it, I test it, I design it, I test it, I iterate, I deliver. I am done, and my product looks like that. Obviously, it's a Frankenstein, because if you're just sitting there going like, okay, as a designer, all I care about is the feature that I'm creating in this sprint, you're going to end up with a lot of features that don't work well together. Okay? They're going to look weird. Your product is going to start looking weird. So as a designer, your life is getting a lot more complicated. This is what your life looks like at all times. At all times, you're creating the feature, but you're still looking at the product and doing all of that circular cycle on the product as well. Okay? And it's tough. I have to say, I've shown up at home at times where I'm like, can't do this anymore, nobody gets me. They don't understand how amazing I am. They don't get it. No. But it's tough, right? It's tough to explain to people why you want them to put in that extra time to do that little bit more, why you want them to not do this. Explain to stakeholders why that product decision was taken and that they need to get behind it. It's very tough. But hopefully, we're at a point where we're starting to figure out some things that work. So if I help one person not have that moment where they break down, my job here would be done. I hope that these help and resonate. I don't know if people are going to get this joke. Who here has seen Despicable Me? Have you seen that plan? I'm glad you guys, like, everybody told me this is going to fail. It didn't. Amazing. Took a chance. So yes, as a designer, I listen to users, I understand their needs, I work with dev and business. What? Yeah, this is what you do. You work. Your job is now to go and talk to people and then bring that information back in so that decision makers can make their decisions. You're here to influence, to facilitate, to help. Okay? And the reason you're doing it is because you are the ones who care about the outcome of this. You are the ones who are here to help the planning of this. So let's get right into it. That is where the magic zone is, and as much as we still want to be like, I just want to sit in my corner and do my design stuff, we can't do it. So let's figure out a way forward. I've got some ideas, but if you've got anything else, holler at me. All right. Number one, get ahead. 1 to 2 sprints ahead, 3 to 4 if you can, as many sprints as you can get away with, okay? This is the design process, one of them. Look at this. By the time you're developing potential solutions, you should have done a lot of that. And that takes time. And that's precious time that no one will give you, but fight for it, okay? I made the stupid mistake of once going on a project where they were like, we're starting developing from day one. And they thought they were amazing. They're like, oh my God, we're awesome. We're going to develop from day one. Don't worry. We're just going to do like sign-up pages and stuff like that. This is typically on any product, so you don't need to worry about it. We won't get in your way. Boy, was I wrong. So, step 1, get 1 sprint ahead. Ideally, get 2 sprints ahead if you can. So what does this mean? When your developer needs to actually be doing or developing something, you actually should have delivered it to them. So if we're starting day 1 with the developers, that's kind of impossible unless you've learned how to warp time, right? And if you have, raise your hand. But, so what you need to do is to ensure that your team understands the value of you being there beforehand. Hit the ground running day one. You are there to do the research before anybody shows up. You are there to talk to users before they show up, right? You are there to help define the value proposition. Now, I live in the real world. We don't always get to define the value proposition. Sometimes it's already defined. Your client brings you in when they already know, hey, I am building the next Uber, the Uber of washing machines. I love those sentences. They happen all the time, right? Great. So you say, all right, that's a very valid value proposition. Let me go validate it. Okay, let me go talk to some users. And that's a good way to then get to see if this actually resonates with people. Because you're basically here to do that. You are their safety net. You are the person that will help them define whether or not the product they're building makes any sense. Okay? And whether people want it. So, number 2, don't hurt cats. And if you're not familiar with this expression, that's what it looks like. Super cute and fluffy. That's exactly what it looks like. Now, I don't have I'm not going to delve deeper on this because what I mean by get organized is start using tools. And Jumana already recommended one tool. I didn't want to do a lot of product placement. That's why I didn't put any logos there. Trello is a great tool to use. I would recommend Dovetail. Dovetail is great for UX research. You can do it, you can put tags, you can do whatever. The reason I recommend this is I have often, sadly, gotten to the end of a project where I would tell my team, okay, what does this flow look like? Can I see it? And they're like, we forgot to do that flow, right? It happens. There's so much to do that the simple things, like what does our error message look like? Got the error messages. Do you think people are going to get errors? We designed the experience so well that there's not going to be any errors. There are going to be errors. We need an error message. So the reason I say get organized, as designers, we often like to think that our process is very fluid. And, you know, one day I'm inspired, the next 15 I'm not. Great. But just make sure that you put some kind of structure. You need a process. And even Trello, if you go on Trello, they've defined the design process for you. You can then change it whichever way you want to and take it forward. Next one, go bananas for research. And that's easier said than done. A lot of times they won't let you do it, okay? A lot of times the first thing that goes out of the window, when timelines get shrunk is research. It's kind of sad. I'm hoping I'll live to the day where it's no longer the case, but so far it looks a little bit sweet. Pull the Martha Stewart. Co-create your space. But don't pull the Martha Stewart and end up in jail. That's not the one I'm saying, okay? This one's not as punchy as the others. So keep it low, but visible. So keep it low fidelity. We as designers are very, very quick to jump towards making things pretty. We love pretty things. And that's great. So a lot of times we go like, it'll take me 2 seconds to sketch this. It also takes me 2 seconds. I'm very fast on sketch. I can do it very quickly digitally. Don't. Stop yourself. Start with a pen and paper, always. Always start with a pen and paper. Iterate as much as you can. Take that out and show it to people. Don't just be like, okay, I will not show people stuff because it's not ready yet. This whole it's not ready yet stuff needs to go out. Never say that. Okay? Always, like, become these people who are always, like, going up to people, showing them your work. Like, oh, look what I did. This is amazing. Like, turn into 5-year-olds. Go out, show people what you drew, right? So, build your asset library. That's the second thing. So after you finish with the pen and paper, you need to have a library that helps you work fast, right? You shouldn't be recreating stuff from scratch every time that you're working. You should become faster with time. It shouldn't take you the same time to do a wireframe on your first project as it does on your 10th. You should become super fast. Iterate quickly, then refine, okay? Make sure you get it right. I see you, George. He was being totally like, anyway. So make sure you get it right and then refine it, okay? Once you have it right, refining it becomes super easy. I've seen so many frustrated designers who have worked on a screen or on a whatever it is. They've worked on something, they've refined it, they've worked on the pixels, the color is perfect, everything is right, typography, and then someone realizes that there's this small change that needs to happen. Screws the whole thing up. Don't do it. Finish everything up. You're still going to potentially have to change things even after you refine, but let's make it less of a normal thing or a thing that repeats often, okay? And involve your team in the process. Please, I swear, the best thing that you can do is to make sure that this is not just your responsibility, but also that this is not just your product. Don't take ownership of the product. It's not yours. You're here to support it. It's no one's product. It's the team's responsibility, okay? Oh, sorry. And when I say involve your team, here are some suggestions. Hold some brown bag sessions. Brown bag sessions. Has anybody ever been in a brown bag session? One person, 2 people. So a brown bag, I didn't even look this way. I don't know if you guys said yes. Yes. There you go. 3, 4. And done. So a brown bag session is basically when you invite people to come and hang out during the lunch break. They usually bring their food in a brown bag, hence the name. Okay, this is so American, it's crazy. But the whole point is that you get together over a lunch break. So it's casual, it's short, it's fun, and you just learn something new. So what you can do is you can hold brown bag sessions for your team. And it could be as simple as how to not suck at drawing, and as complex as how to A/B test for newbies, right? Or how to use Sketch. You wouldn't imagine how many people have their own ideas of products that they want to do in their spare time, and they're like, oh, I wish I was a designer, then I could use the app. Get these people on board. Make sure that they feel involved and that they feel that you really value their input, because their input is going to one day save your ass. Do it, okay? Drop the ego. I'm going to skip through this slide very quickly. All right, odds are 90% of the cool ideas will not come from you. Deal with it. It's fine. You're here to facilitate. No one is looking at you to be the most creative person in the room. Yes, there's still this whole kind of like, oh, you're a designer, you're so creative. Oh my God, look at your outfit. I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans. It's like, yes, but it looks so creative. That's no longer the case, guys. It's no longer the case. The more the merrier. These are 2 people hugging, by the way. It just looks weird. Kick off with a team huddle. Never start something on your own. Everybody has their own idea of what it is that you're building. Make sure you hear everybody's idea before you start. So let's say we decide, oh, we're going to do a payment tool. Okay? Yeah, a payment app. Great. Can you tell me what you mean by payment app? Okay, now I know what you mean by payment app. What do you mean by payment app? Get it all out in the open. Get your stakeholders in the room. A lot of times they think stuff that you wouldn't even know they're thinking. Get them all in the room. Figure out what people want you to build, what they want the team to build. That's what I mean. And then take that and figure out what users need. But not before you understand what it is, what the problem you're trying to solve actually is. Okay? Show raw designs. I know it's uncomfortable. I've often gone up to people and they're like, oh, show me the screen. And they're like, that's not ready. Okay? Can I still see it? Can I send it to you a bit later? I just need to tweak. It's like, fine. And if someone critiques your alignment on a screen you started 5 minutes ago, kind of like tell them about it. Be like, okay, you know what? Give me a break. I just started this 5 minutes ago. Can you focus on the important stuff? Bring people up to speed on what is important. Hold design critiques. Have people come, explain to them, today we're looking at this specific thing. Can you give me your input? Don't shy away from getting input. Your designs are not you. I know it's hard to believe. A lot of us feel very connected to the work that we do, and that's great because that brings passion. But you also need to know where to draw the line, because then you're actually limiting the possibility and the potential of the work that you do. Host design reviews, I already went through that. And my favorite, I hit this one. This is you're gonna think of this and laugh one day. Maybe not now. Has anybody watched Lord of the Rings? Yeah? So Bilbo Baggins was that guy that no one had any belief in, right? No one believed in him. What is he even doing here? The dwarfs wanted to throw him out. Everybody looked at him and mocked him. But he was one of the greatest characters towards the end. So the reason I bring this up is remember that good ideas can come from everywhere. Good input can come from everywhere. Don't be a design elitist. Don't think that it's only you that will create this amazing product, right? So do remember Bilbo Baggins. We're going to eventually create merchandise out of this. Anyway. Broaden your horizon, and this one's important. A lot of times we get so sucked into design and how amazing design is, and we want to bring people on board, great. Now we're bringing them on board. But let's not be very self-centered. Let's look at other people. What are they doing? Let's get involved in it as well. This resonates so well with the team. Plus, it's super exciting to solve business problems, product problems, development problems as well. Sometimes we would be in sessions where the developer is going like, that won't work. And you start talking to them a little bit and you're like, well, did you think of that? Or maybe we can change this a little bit and maybe we can do that. And suddenly, something that would have caused months of delay gets solved in just a bit of a discussion. So get out of your comfort zone, go in, see other problem solving sessions, be like, oh, how can I help? How can I help you think through it, right? You're a facilitator, you're not here to give them the answer, but you're here to help them think through it, and you're here to help them look at the problem from different directions. So do that. Interact with the rest of the team. Remember, that's the space right there, that's where the magic happens. And if all else fails, just order pizza. Thank you.